press record there. Okay. Yes. Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 92 of the 343 podcast. And yes, we named our podcast before Ruben Amorim decided to bring that formation to Manchester United. So just wanted to put that out there. I'll be hosting it today. My name is Ziad, and with me, I've got the producer, AF. We've got Riaz also joining us again from last week, the three Parkers. And then we've managed to persuade our only guest who decides to keep his orientation in portrait, met 'n wagen vol geladen. If you could please just explain yourself to the viewers, since we've recently gained quite a lot of viewers from the US and India. I'll hand over to you, Mr. Mubin Ahmed.
Yeah, just in memory of the Dutch. So basically a wagon that's fully loaded.
Okay, so I actually I like where this is going. So in honor of the Dutch, a Ruud van Nistelrooy Dutch and a wagon that's fully loaded, United spirits are up. AF, talk to me. Tell me how you're feeling with your new manager coming in.
So I don't know what to expect, to be honest, because it's a new manager coming in with an amazing philosophy and amazing style, but it's still the same players that threw so many managers under the bus already. So I don't know. It's a lucky packet to me, but just to give some kudos to Ruud van Nistelrooy. 4 matches unbeaten, played some really good football, um, got some really good results under the belt, and just made us lifted us to a more respectable spot on the table. So yeah.
I think that log position still is in the teens, right? So we won't go too much into that. Riaz, just talk us through that unbeaten run that AF mentioned, the 4 games. What were your thoughts on the interim manager and his performances?
Yeah, they did well. They looking at the games that they got, the opponents, it wasn't really that difficult. I mean, 2 games against Leicester, newly promoted team. So you don't expect much there. But what was encouraging was the fact that they played better in those games. So even though there were games against opponents that they are expected to beat, besides the Chelsea game maybe, I think that they played a more exciting brand of football. They were on the front foot, even though the players still are a bit on the dodgy side, like I have said. We'll see how the new manager changes that. But yeah, it was good from Ruud. I would have liked him to kind of had a bit of an extended run, maybe till the end of the season. But I fully understand why they've gone with the new manager. Like I have said, it's a completely new system, completely different kind of like a G up, kind of a shake up kind of a thing. So I'm excited for that. But yeah, I think Ruud did well. I'm also always happy to see the manager getting excited, like the old players on the sidelines getting excited for the team. It's nice to see.
I think that's also just like a sign of the change of regime. Like I have a feeling before this Ineos group came in, or whatever this new directorship is called, they would have just probably told him, okay, you impressed for your 4 games, here's a contract, exactly the same like they did with Ole. And it's just it shows that there's a sign of authority and a clear plan for what they actually want to achieve with the club, because they actually have football people in charge to make these decisions now.
Okay, 2 things before I come to Mubin. First one is they could never have done that for more than 5 games. So they quit while they're ahead because everyone was playing for the manager. I mean, all the quotes coming out from all the players were, we wanted to give Ruud a send-off. We wanted to do it for him. A lot of the former players also saying Van Nistelrooy never had opportunity to say goodbye to Old Trafford properly. So this was kind of his goodbye. So, it was all pretty storybook, but I reckon in the long run, if they had to do the Ollie thing with him, it would have started well, but I don't think it would have gotten where they wanted to be. But I also feel he's hard done by. And Mubin, I want to know what you think about this. Here's a man who left the job as a first team manager or coach in the Dutch league to come be someone's number 2. Obviously, he took the job, so he also has to take the responsibility. But is there a part of you that thinks he actually took the job thinking that when Ten Hag gets the sack, which we all thought was going to be quickly, that he'd actually step up and get the job full time?
Yeah, I think so. I think, I mean, to leave a first team a job as a head coach, and take up an assistant role at a club like United, especially in the conundrum that United were at the beginning of the season, or not conundrum, but rather the circus, because there were talks of them looking for a manager. Obviously, when the season ended last season, and then they decided to stick with Ten Hag. So I think by him accepting the job as the assistant, I'm sure, like at the back of his head, he probably thought, if this guy is not gonna come out guns blazing, Anjas is probably gonna give him up until a certain point, and then maybe I step in, because that historically that wouldn't say that is what happened, but they would give the next guy a contract. And then, like AF said earlier, the players play until that guy gets his contract, and then they throw him under, I wouldn't say the bus, but I'll say them throw him under the wagon. That is where
The wagon, yes, of
the
course.
wagon, right? So that has sort of been the modus operandi. Let's call it that, from the
Yeah, but
players,
I think
because
he's quite unlucky, because I think he's actually a pretty good manager. So
he
if the
is.
only thing
I
didn't
think
happen,
a big part of me is, I feel he's hard done by, number one.
yeah,
But a bigger part of me is actually glad that that he didn't well, not stay, but he didn't get the number 2 position under Ruben. I feel, once Ruben's era comes to an end, whenever that may be, I feel it's better that if I would want him to come back, that he comes back on his own terms, with his own backroom staff, and basically
yeah,
starts afresh.
yeah, fair
And more
enough, man.
experience as well.
Yeah,
100%.
definitely. Yeah, so I think United seem to be heading in the right direction. Spirits are up. Everyone's feeling quite positive. I just want to remind you, AF, Mubin, and all United fans, it's the same players, guys. So don't get too excited. These are the same players who have disappointed your managers in the past. And I really think
Yeah.
if they can play like that for Ruud van Nistelrooy, they can play like that for the next manager also. It's just them doing it week in and week out, which I'm not too
Yeah.
convinced of. But yeah, time will tell. The log is quite jammed at the moment, with teams very close to each other. So even though United are in the teens, they aren't too far off in terms of points from some of the the better clubs at the top half of the log. So speaking of
Yeah.
managers, I want to stay on that trail of thought, and I just want to take a temperature here from the guys with regards to who's on the hot seat in terms of managers. We now third international break, so it's a good time now to take stock of which managers are under pressure. And I'm not gonna, I'm gonna try and keep everything inside the box. I've narrowed it down to a couple of managers. We'll start with Urias, because Andrew Postecoglou is on my short list for one of the managers who is a bit under pressure with his gung-ho style of play, not worrying about defending, and we're going to entertain regardless of the results. How do you feel about your club's manager? Do you feel he's under pressure? Is the clock ticking? What are your thoughts on him?
I think he is under a little bit of pressure, not because they're going to fire him or anything like that. I just think he's under pressure because his results haven't gone our way. I fully back him, fully back him. We might not end top 4, we might end top 6, but we also might get Europa League. We also might get the FA Cup or the Carabao Cup, whatever it's called nowadays. So we might get one of those, but we might not in top 4. But we will play entertaining football. So and there's a lot of Tottenham fans now, especially after this loss now on the weekend against Ipswich. I feel like it's an international break curse for us. But anyways, I think that was massive, because it just shows that on a day anybody can really beat us, which is the problem with the club. Even though we play such attractive
No, I
football.
think with Spurs, there's always three outcomes: the opposition beat them, or they beat themselves, or they win. So it could go either of those ways, right? So AF, just to jump to you quickly, you in agreement with Riaz on Spurs? Are you just a yes or no there for me? Is he under pressure or no?
I don't think so.
Okay,
I
so
don't
you
think
think
so.
he's pretty safe. I'll throw a couple other managers out for you, and I'll keep one back for Mr. Wagon there at the bottom, who I think he's going to lean towards Postecoglou. Is sitting on a hot pile of coal. So AF, West Ham not doing well. Wolves also not doing too well. And then Crystal Palace is the other team. So which of those three clubs do you think their manager is under the most pressure, and chances are that they might be without a job by December?
I think it would be West Ham. I think Lopetegui is under the most pressure at the moment. It just shows how bad United was in that game as well, that we managed to lose so badly to them. And like every other result of theirs, it's been uninspiring. They look like they don't want to play for the manager. They look like they're not accepting of his style, of his implementation, like nothing. It seems like he's going to be the one that's gone. And it's interesting that we spoke about Ruud van Nistelrooy earlier, because apparently there's 3 clubs in the Premier League that are looking to sign him before the end of the
But
year.
they're not going to get him because he's going to go to AS Roma, from what I've been reading.
No, he's AS Roma is appointing Claudio Ranieri until the end of
that's
the
smart
season.
actually.
That was
So Ruud
about
might
an
stay
hour
in the
ago.
Premier League. Nice.
Yeah.
Nah, if I can't compete with you, bro, I was talking about this afternoon. You got the sources from an hour ago. I will rest my case. So, Mubin, you agree with any of that? You disagree?
Yeah,
You
hundred
supporting West
percent.
Ham or?
I 100% agree with Lopetegui. I think
That was
I
flawless
think that
pronunciation there, my man. Well done.
yeah, I try and practice in the mirror. But yeah, I think West Ham probably would have by now wanted to be in the top half of the table. And then I think Ange is definitely sitting on a hot pile of goals. You can score goals, but the defense is what wins your titles. You can't concede, and they concede first in. Obviously, I don't know the proper stats, but I mean, in most of the games I've watched, they've conceded first. So it's all good and well playing attacking football and scoring a couple, scoring, an early goal, but your defense is what wins your titles. And if they're going to concede the way they are, then I don't see it getting better for him.
But look, Ria said they want to win cups. So if they're scoring a lot of goals and entertaining, they'll win a cup maybe. They're not really interested in winning the league. So it seems like
Yeah, but then
everything's aligned.
then they shouldn't be calling themselves a top six club. Then they should be in the joining the ranks of West
The
Ham
only
or
reason
or
they are in the
United.
top 6 is because your team is sitting in the bottom half. So if you guys
Yeah,
can come
but
right, you can put Spurs where they belong. It's really simple. Right?
it's we
Solve
one
the
win away
problem for
from that
everyone. There
essentially.
we go. One win away, Riaz. We'll keep an eye on
That's
that.
madness.
For me, it's Crystal Palace, bro. I think that manager, he came in last season and he was phenomenal. But it looks like Michael Olise was phenomenal more than Mr. Glasner. And I think he's really under pressure because I don't think his squad is too bad. He's got Mateta still and Ketia joined, so he's got goals. Eze is still there. He
think the
managed to keep
Anderson loss is
Mark
also big.
Geehee. Yeah, but they kept Mark Geehee. So I know. I know the Anderson thing was weird. Like, why sell to Fulham, bro? They're like literally your direct rivals. You guys are all competing for 10, 11, 12. You decide to sell one of your best centre backs to Fulham. And yeah, it makes no sense. So watch Crystal Palace. I think they might have a manager who's on the hot seat. And then speaking of the Yeah. Well, speaking of the hot seat, I wouldn't say the managers are under pressure in terms of losing their job, but they are under pressure. Been a very hot and cold start to the season, well, the first 10, 11 games from Arsenal and Man City. They seem to be faltering a little. Results aren't good. City obviously lost a couple games on the bounce. I don't want to say the 4 games on the bounce because it includes a Carabao Cup game and a
We'll
Champions
take it.
League game. People are
Much
counting the
included.
Champions League because Amorim managed. He's not United manager yet, so that counts for Sporting, not United. Just thought I'll put it out there. And obviously, Arsenal have been their own worst enemies, going down to 10 men often, giving away silly goals, doing stupid things, and not
Nice to
closing
hear
out
that from an
games.
Arsenal
And
supporter.
hey, call a spade, bruh. You know me. So just to go around the room, I'm gonna leave Riaz because I don't want to hear from a Spurs guy about how bad Arsenal have been at the moment. Mubin, we'll come back to you. Just a quick, what are your thoughts on City and Arsenal? Is this who they are, or are they gonna recover? Um,
I, I think they will recover. But again, this is what the league is. You know, you get a couple of injuries, or key injuries, and things don't maybe go your way. And in terms of City, with regards to City, I'm referring to Rodri, who is a key member, is the pinnacle of and the heartbeat of that midfield.
Ballon d'Or
So
winner.
the Ballon d'Or
Thank
winner.
you.
So you know, it's things like that that sort of can change your course in a title. I want to say charge, but in a title contending team. But it's who steps up in the place of those key players. And I mean the same with Arsenal. The defense was, I think, was Saliba and White who were out. Um, so I think they'll bounce back. The title race is far from over. We all know that Christmas running period still to come, New Year's. Um, so yeah, that's what I have to say about it.
Okay, so Riaz, for you regarding Man City, right? They obviously down Rodri, couple of players. Haaland has cooled down quite a bit. What have you made of their recent performances and their potential to bounce back?
Well, they'll always bounce back, right? Manchester City, if history has told us anything in the past couple of years, they will definitely come back. They're only 5 points off the top, and they've chased down worse deficits before. And Rodri is a big loss. That is fair, and it shows in the way that the team is now playing because it's a lot of side-to-side football. But they're playing basically 4 number 10s across the midfield, which is Foden, Rodri, Kovacic, Bernardo Silva, and Mateus Nunes. They play as the four midfielders, and it shows because they just pass the ball to each other around the box the whole time, and there's no incisiveness really. Um, to their play, and that's where they're struggling. Whereas the opponent team gets the ball and they directly at them, they're attacking them full on, and they end up conceding. So it's going to be interesting, but they'll definitely come back at the end of the day. It's Manchester City, it's Pep Guardiola, and
Yeah, I think they just, it's a side quest, man. Look, every season we try hard to lose and then, we come back later on. So I think this is the worst. They've lost Rodri before and they've
yeah.
tried to win without him and they managed to, pull back when he came back into the team. But this time they've decided, you know what, we're gonna make it even more difficult. Holland, you just take a break on scoring goals. We're gonna put guys in the team that people don't know, like Simpson, Pusey, if I got that right, and I don't know who else they finding, to throw in the team. But it is going to be interesting to see if they can overcome this deficit. AF, your thoughts on the City situation?
Yeah, no, everything that Riaz just said now. I mean, we've seen this happen so many times in the last couple of years. But at the back of my mind, also, I'm thinking with everything looming over City this season, like the Rodri injury, obviously, but then the court case, the fact that this might be Pep Guardiola's last season as well. I saw yesterday that Kevin De Bruyne might move to the MLS at the end of the season as well. So there's a lot that's happening within the club, and maybe they aren't on the same page like they normally are. So yeah, I'm just looking for a silver lining here, so that I can actually see my prediction come true. Finally, that Arsenal wins the league. But
I think
yeah,
Arsenal
like
also heard your prediction and decided we are actually going to go against what this guy wants, and we'll just sabotage ourselves.
but like in all seriousness, I think it will be good for the league to see a different winner. So yeah, even if it may be Liverpool that just carries on this run, this crazy run that they've been on, and just go on to do the whole thing.
Just before we go
So
into Liverpool
yeah,
quickly, I just wanna like make a note of something that if we are going to be saying that Rodri is so important to Manchester City and the way they play, and it shows in their points, I want to make sure that we know that it's the same thing with Arsenal and Odegaard. As soon as Odegaard
oh,
came
I thought
back,
you were gonna say Spurs and Richarlison, but I'm glad you went on Arsenal.
I'm not delusional. Come on now. Yeah, as soon as Odegaard came back, they played great football again. It's just that it's the same WhatsApp group. It's if Rodri is out for Man City, they lose stuff. If Odegaard
Hey,
is out
look,
for Arsenal,
talking about WhatsApp groups, I got our WhatsApp group. Or like if we're relying on Odegaard for everything, then we're in a bad spot, which is kind of true. But the funny thing is about sport that I'm not a big believer in you get a big injury and it's suddenly over. I believe in the squad
yeah,
mentality, next man up. So you gotta have people in your squad that can cover, that you can try and squeeze, performances out of.
yeah,
And yes, but that's where the quality of the manager and the coaching staff comes through because they're able to squeeze enough out of it. And just a quick couple of seconds here on Arsenal, but I feel that Arteta was just like I said last week. It was like the FIFA example where he's putting guys in the wrong place, and you saw this week was just having Odegaard available. Everyone could play where they're supposed to play, and
yeah,
everything was much better for the most part. And even when Marino came on, he made such a big difference because he took the ball on the half turn and he put the ball forward, and
I
that's what
like,
we were missing. Where
yeah,
he was putting guys into space and stuff. It's obviously not his fault that Martinelli, doesn't want to just run at people and dribble past them. Even though he scored, I still feel he has to take a step up if Arsenal are ever going to win the league. And Trossard coming off the bench, that's his best spot in the club. He's going to come
yeah,
on 20, 30 minutes. He's going to have a great impact because
impact.
I feel like he actually watches the game and he figures out what he needs to do when he comes on. So he picks up the tendencies of the defender he's going to go up against. He figures out where the spaces are, and then he just does things coming on. Whereas I don't think he gives the same to the club when he starts. And obviously Sterling has been a ghost. I don't know what's happening there.
No,
I'm
That's
hearing
weird.
that his loan might be cancelled in January, and maybe
Yeah.
Maresca was right that he is
was the sell by
terrible.
date.
Yeah, man,
Yeah.
it's sad because I thought he'd be able to spell Saka a little bit, but clearly we got that wrong.
Just one last thing before we go on. Uh, I think Saka got like a really bad injury over the weekend as well as Rice. After the match, Arteta said that both doesn't look good at all.
Yeah, but
Has there
that was
been?
all
I
just for
haven't
the
really
FA,
been
man.
following that.
It was just for the FA, bro. They finally got clever
Yeah,
because every international break we send our players
Fair,
80%
fair.
fit, and then they're the only ones who play. Southgate plays them into the ground, and then when England still lose, and they still get blamed. So you're like, nah, listen, man, we out, we tapping out here. We don't want to go play against
Yeah.
Ireland and Greece.
I think there were
If I
like
got it right,
eight English
yes,
internationals that pulled out. So
yeah. I mean, Grealish is even pulled out of Man City games, so he was never gonna go to England. Him and Foden are out. Saka, Rice also took the week off. They're like, nah, last Lee Carsley, Thomas Tuchel's coming in. Why must we go play for the interim? And then I don't know why Ramsdale pulled out. He's a goalkeeper. I mean, he used other, and then a couple other guys. Trent Alexander-Arnold also. He wants to stay fresh for Real Madrid. They play Madrid after the break, so he's gonna
oh, I
rest up
thought you
for
meant
that.
his move.
For his
Nah, both
audition.
right. It's a live audition.
Yeah,
He has to show he's ready to go there, and I think he'll be good there. But okay, since you brought Liverpool up there now, let's go there. So after I think it's 11 games. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Liverpool now have a 60% chance of winning the league according to Opta. I'm no supercomputer. I'm just putting the numbers out there and the stats. So Liverpool are clearly in the driver's seat when it comes to the league. They've been fantastic. I think we're speaking about managers. I think Klopp stepped away at the right time. They managed to identify a good manager to take over from him, and he's pretty much using the same squad which he's managed to rejuvenate. And you got a couple of guys playing in their contract years. Salah, for example, he's just been phenomenal. He's been a match winner for them almost every game, and he's playing to show JW Henry and group of the Fenway Sports group that, listen, you need to drop that big contract on me because I deserve it. So Liverpool in the driver's seat. Riaz, you agree, disagree? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, 100%. I think they're playing really well at the moment. They're a bit more pragmatic, but still have a good pressing when they need to. And as a group, I think they're doing really, really well together. I think they're showing that not just in the league, but in the Champions League as well. I think they're playing really good football on the whole. And I'm not much of a stats guy. Well, not much of a stats guy. The AI guy. I don't really believe much in the like the biggest stat that I hate in a game when I watch a match is that win predictor that they put up. Oh, it annoys me so much.
Yeah, because I mean, they always say Spurs are predicted to win, but we all know it's not going to happen.
Precisely. It's so annoying. Anyways, so yeah, I think that looking at it, just looking at the way they're playing, I think they're in the driver's seat. But you know that, like we said earlier, City aren't going to lose a game after Christmas until the end of the season. So they still need to keep up the consistency, and we'll see how that goes for them.
Yo, Mubin, for a guy that had on an economic shirt before he switched to New York, I'm surprised he doesn't like numbers.
I like numbers. I just don't like the win predictions. Ugh.
Supply and demand, Mus. Mubin, for you, what have you seen with Liverpool? I mean, they top of every log. If the Cups had a log like the FA, you say the brass slotting in lekker.
Yeah, I mean, it pains me when I need to speak positively about Liverpool. I never want to do it, but I was skeptical at the beginning of the season that they would start off well on the front foot, which they have. I think maybe the blueprint was there, the players were there, the players are backing the manager. But again, like I said, it's far from over. I don't believe in this 60% chance of winning the league. We need to go into this Christmas period of games, and City is 5 points off it, and Liverpool are in hand for slipping. If you catch my pun, so it just takes a game or two where a draw or a loss against a team that that's a bit more hungry on the day, and then the playing field's level again. So, but putting that aside, I think they've started the season off phenomenally. They've been the most consistent team, playing great attacking football, and Salah just been on a mission. And it's good to see him. I think sort of last season, towards the end of the season, he maybe tapered off a bit, fell away. But it's good to see him scoring goals and assisting again.
Yeah, and I mean, you can see with Salah, right? He fixed his hairline and now things are going smoothly. Also, all the people who chirped him, basically, who disrespected him rather, for picking Haaland over him in the FPL because he couldn't afford both. And he took it personally, he's like, I'm going to show people why they should pick me. And the guy that's on top of FPL has never owned Haaland. He's had Salah in his team all the time. And his name is not AF, who also didn't have Haaland. So, it clearly showing Salah's got a chip on his shoulder. He's playing for the contract. Make no two ways about that. He's definitely playing for the contract. But he also just wants to remind everyone that he is a superstar. And if you want to win FPL, you got to put him in your team. Right? So, hey, for you, obviously, Liverpool have done well. Just with regards to their signings, right? Obviously, they got Chiesa. I feel like he hasn't even played much. They've pretty much been relying on the guys that they had last season.
Yeah, no. And I think one of the first episodes that we did this season, Mubin, I think it was with your brother, that episode, and I basically I said what's happening right now with Chiesa, that you're buying injury prone, you're buying somebody that isn't in the greatest form, that hasn't seen the greatest form in the last couple of years, and I doubt that he's going to be like playing much football at Liverpool. I think it was just to appease the fans. A player that had a household name about 2 to 3 years ago, that never really recovered from a massive injury. But yeah, like you said, the existing players, the current players that are there, and I'm just gonna touch on something that I've seen on Twitter and on Threads, and people are saying there's like revisionism going around now, that like people are saying Slot is better than Klopp ever was, and I mean you can't be saying stuff like that. Like, I mean,
Listen,
yes, the
AF,
guy started his season well.
earlier on, I credited you for your sources, but I want to take half of that back because the same sources that are saying that can't be accurate. Eh?
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
but it's the
no.
same. It's the
You-
same sources that saying that Van Dijk is the greatest defender in the Premier League
yeah,
history.
I mean, like
So
Hey,
these.
Liverpool are doing well this season, so let's
Yeah,
give them that for a bit, and it's up to our teams to reel that back in a little. The funny thing about Kaiser, like you guys, maybe you were right, maybe he wasn't gonna do anything, but I think his presence has also challenged Salah a little bit to kind of step up and take that spot and say this guy's not playing on my flank. If he wants to get in the team, put him on the other side.
yeah,
And it's worked out okay for them. And sometimes it's just good to have that insurance, right? I mean, if we were winning as well and Sterling was doing nothing, no one cares. It's
yeah.
it's just about the effect it has. I mean, United brought Xerxes in and he's like, I don't want to be a striker, I want to be a 9.5. Like, what the hell is a nine and a
Whatever
half,
that
bro?
is.
Go score goals, my bro. Don't come
Yeah,
talk about being a 9.5.
He
I
is
don't
I'm
want to
just
not a
come bring
striker.
shoe sizes into it.
It's
the
not
and
his
the
fault.
I don't know off on the XG.
yeah,
It's
not
not the
not even
man's
that,
fault.
not even that.
Yeah.
Just back to the whole Slot Klopp thing. Something that I thought about when I read those comparisons, and it's not that like Slot is better than Klopp. I think he's gotten a lot out of players this season that Klopp didn't do last season. So Klopp brought in Gravenberg, he brought in Cody Gakpo, but I don't know if it's a Dutch connection or what it is, but they are two of his best players this season. Like Salah is obviously the best, but
Well, I don't know if you can
Gravenberg,
say Klopp brought them in because they operate with that sporting directors and all that stuff. So he might
yeah,
have
yeah, yeah,
gotten players he didn't want or whatever the case is. But I hear you. I mean, you could
yeah,
definitely have maybe gotten more out of it. But at the same time, if you look at the other side of the coin, you could say Slot's not using Endo, whereas Klopp was using Endo and he was getting him to play at levels that nobody thought was possible because we all laughed when they
yeah.
signed Endo, and suddenly this guy was a big part of their midfield. So, I mean, it's hard to say with that connection because Ten Hag was also supposed to have the connection with all the Ajax players, and look where that got him. So
Fired.
it's yeah, definitely fired. But
I
it's
was
not that
living in a
simple, man. I
different
think
time
Klopp.
zone, unfortunately.
Definitely. Klopp's method is very exhausting. So, sometimes that does wear away and you either change the players or you change the coach. I've said this many times. There's a couple of other I can use examples from other sports where wherever there's a coach in for a long period of time, the players constantly change because the messaging it gets stale, right? I mean, you can't
Yeah.
listen to the same thing all the time. And I always go back to this. So Alex Ferguson changed his squads multiple times. He went through a run of a couple of years, and then he made key changes to the squad to freshen it up. Went on a run again, recycle, change the couple. So you have to, if you're going to be a manager for a long period of time with a team, you got to keep changing. Otherwise, the manager changes if the players stay the same. So on that note, just moving on into the international break, I'm pretty sure none of us are very excited or keen about this international break. Absolute chaos. I don't know anybody who cares about the Nations League. I think most of us watch the international break worrying if any of the players from our clubs that we support are going to get injured. Yeah, so like obviously it's going to be a bit of a wait now till till next week when the club football gets back. AF, just for your club, how do you feel about the international break? Did it come at a good time? Are you not happy it came now? What's your thoughts on the international break?
So I don't think, well, I can't say it doesn't matter right now because there's a change of guard that's happening. So maybe it is a good thing that there has been this break instead of going from one game straight into the next one with a new management team. So there's quite a few United players who haven't been called up for international duty. And Ruben Amorim arrived yesterday. He gets to work with him now for about a week and a bit before the other players come back. And yeah, it could be some really good education for everybody left behind.
Yeah, I mean, look, with that, obviously they were left behind because they're not any good, but that's beside the point, Mubin. With with the new manager coming in, there's obviously a lot of talk about the system, right? He's had success with the three at the back and the wing backs, which obviously United don't have enough quality in those positions, but the the feeling is that he's going to pursue that system. So how do you feel about that? Should he come in and put that system in, or should he use what he has and try to make it work that way?
I think he's got to go with the system that's worked for him, that's produced results for him. He'll obviously figure out who's going to work for him in that system. I think it would be silly of him to wanting to change his winning formula. But one thing that I know, I don't know much, or I haven't watched much of his games while coaching. But one thing that I do
There's
know
not
is
much.
that
I think they only beat City four goals to something. That was the only game people.
that's the game I watched. But obviously, like you go and you read up and things like that. So one thing I do know is that his players, they run themselves ragged, and it's something that in the past season or two, our players are guilty of, is not having a high work rate. So they're definitely going to have their work cut out for them, and I'm sure that come next season will be a pre-season that he will clear out as much as dead weight as he can and bring in players that he thinks is obviously going to work for him, and that's going to work for the badge.
Yeah.
How
It's
long is
interesting
that going to
because
continue? To be honest, like every
What's
single
this?
time a manager comes in and then it's like, okay, I don't like these players. I'm just going to bring in all of these
So
players.
so
It's
so
and then
maybe
same.
we shouldn't just give like blanket statements. Like I'm gonna go out and say, I mean, a guy like Marcus Rashford for the past 3 seasons has been absolutely nowhere. Yet he starts game in, game out. I mean, has minimal impact in terms of goals and assists. So for me, it's either he's there and he's gonna start pulling his weight, or he's gonna have to make way. It's as
But
simple as that.
on the flip side of that, like you just mentioned now, players running ragged, whereas Rashford actually does that. He runs everywhere. Like he doesn't like have any sort of goal contributions as much lately, but he runs up and down the flank every single game. Whereas Garnacho, on the other hand, goals and assists, yes, I think he's United's highest goal contributor
I scored
this
her.
season.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, but for assists as well, for both goals
yeah.
and assists this season. But I mean, you saw how Casemiro shouted at him a couple of weeks ago because he wasn't coming back. And those are the things I think that Ruben Amorim is going to be looking for. Who's willing to run for him the most?
Yeah, because he needs
Yeah,
someone
but
to run on that left wing back because Luke Shaw is never fit. And if you're gonna have
He
Malassia's
someone
actually
who
came
goes
coming
back
back.
wide,
last
he
night.
doesn't
No,
he doesn't play with
he came back.
wingers. So
Yeah.
someone's gonna miss out. It's gonna be Rashford, Garnacho. Somebody's gonna, because
As long as
Bruno
Amad
obviously will
Diallo
play.
is playing, that's all I
Yeah.
care about. I want
I
that
mean,
dude to keep
AF has the
on.
biggest mansion on Diallo Island, ik say. That bruh.
Yeah,
AF's got all the stock, my bro.
Yeah, no,
yeah.
I think he was hard done by. He was probably our most informed player and just gets dropped out of the blue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of blue, Riaz, are you blue that Spurs are not playing this weekend, or?
No, I'm pretty happy about it. I mean, we don't do well going into international breaks. It's
True.
just another reason to hate international breaks. So
Let's stay in London quickly. What are your thoughts on this Maresca Ball? Because I watched it this weekend for the first time, and I can't say I thought it was bad. So, what do you make of it?
it's not bad. It's perfectly average, I guess. I think they do good things, and there's place for mistakes as well. I think the first 11 is really good, but as soon as you replace the back line with the substitutes on the bench, they're going to struggle, because I think the first 11, the back four is very decent. But as soon as they get subs at the back, they struggle. Whereas the front line is opposite. The front line, you can use any amount of um, players there, no matter who they have off the bench, they'll do really well.
Yeah, I
So
thought they played nice and direct. It was very.
yeah,
It didn't seem very complicated what they were doing. Trying to win the ball back with Casado and Lavia, and then
yeah,
progressing it quickly to the flanks, using their pace. So I thought they were quite good. They are suited to the counter attack, like I was saying last week. We were gonna have a lot of the ball in the middle, and both teams wanting to counter. But I get a feeling the AF looks like he wants to talk about Cole Palmer, who played or didn't play or didn't appear, or
Ghost Palmer.
Ghost
Is that
Palmer.
who you
Yeah,
get?
see, there we
Ghost
go.
Palmer.
But I mean, he gave his interview in GQ, with Kobe Mino. I don't understand how Kobe Mino gets on the cover of a magazine. But
it is
anyway,
what
let's
he did.
let's not go there. I mean, at least Cole Palmer's done a lot. But he gave his interview there on GQ saying that he feels hard done by. England should have put him in the team and he deserved to play and blah blah blah. But Foden was essentially the player of the year last season. So how do you
Yeah.
push that
True.
guy out? And we saw when Carsley tried to play all of them together for England, that didn't work because you can't
Yeah,
have all the same player. So I was going to have that same problem that manager had in the past when they had to decide, do you play Lampard and Gerrard, do you play one of the two? And I think that's gonna happen again with England because Palmer feels he should be the main guy for England, but they've got Bellingham, they've got Foden, they've got depending where you want to play. But what do you think, AF? Should he be the main man for England or not?
No, because I think that there's weight. That team is so stacked. It's hard to actually pick a main man for the team. And I think the one person that's gonna come the closest to being the main man is Jude. Jude will be number one, and everybody will just fall behind him.
Yeah,
you
and as
see
a
the
manager, you got to make those big calls, right? If you feel Jude's the best player in that spot, you make
Yeah.
everyone else. They have to sit out. You have to pick the best players for the other spots. Depending on the system you want to play. But yeah, I think that's gonna be all for us for this week. Fantastic episode. Thank you.
One thing,
Thank you, AF.
one
Okay,
thing,
one thing. If it's
one thing.
United, then I'm gonna have to
No,
block you
it's
there. But if
actually
it's
Arsenal.
non-United, you can carry on.
It's actually Arsenal. So we spoke about Edu leaving last week,
Yeah,
and there was news today reported by David Ornstein about Roberto Olave
yeah,
leaving his post as sporting director at Real Sociedad. So this guy, he was involved in the development of Odegaard, Marino. He has close ties with Arteta, and I think his contract is up by the end of the season. So it's interesting that Edu's leaving, and this seems like it could be a sort of like for like, or um, I think he was director of football at
mm,
Sociedad. So I think that connections that could go quite far, and yeah, it might be something to keep an eye on from
sounds like
Arsenal
an
point of view.
NFL player.
yeah. I was thinking the same thing, Chris Olave. But that guy's currently concussed and thinking about quitting football. So yeah, look, I'm
There
not
goes
too
my
clued up with
references.
this director thing, and I don't know if it's a good idea to get more Spanish people. I always feel like you want to diversify that role. So you already have a network of players and the manager who have strong Spanish ties. Why not get someone who can give you access to a different network of players
Yeah,
from a different region? Which Edu was supposed to do with the Brazilian links, and just being able to identify with more players, right? So if you go through your staff, you got guys who can people can identify with, and makes things easier when it comes to negotiating. But if he's the best man for the job, then by all means. At this moment, I think we're in a position where the players are more important, because we've done the recruiting, we've got a good group of players, and they need to perform now. Where kind of think that's why Edu was comfortable leaving, because his job was kind of done. He did the recruiting, he put everything in place, and now it's up to Arteta and Co to lead the guys forward. So we'll definitely keep an eye on that one. But thank you for your time, guys. It was good to be on here. Remember to like, share, subscribe, join us on YouTube, comment on the socials, engage with us. We're more than happy to reply. I know if we go to Riaz and ask where to find him, he'll put on his invisibility cloak, so we'll skip him and we'll go straight to AF. Where can everyone find you?
Yeah, at AF Parker 642. But yeah, like Ziad said, find us at sportycast everywhere on socials, and yeah, give us listens on Spotify. Drop us a rating. Yeah, if you're chilling in the car going to work, just don't think that you have to watch us on YouTube. Just press play on Spotify and you can get the same melodious voice of Ziad hosting this episode.
Yeah, the people might turn off. Mubin, they can find you at Endeavour Road. Is that right?
9 Endeavour Road. Come through for the Christmas vibes starting this week, but obviously on Instagram at Mubin Ahmed 23, and like I always say, I'm the representative on Facebook from the Sportycast group, so Mubin Ahmed on Facebook.
Listen, you're giving away our age here, my bro. If you're still very active there on Facebook, but the Facebook community is boosting. I do keep an eye on it from time to time. Riaz, just let the people know where you pretend to be.
I pretend to be on Twitter at Riaz Parker 7. You can pretend to message me and I'll pretend to respond.
No, but I actually see a few sneaky tweets from you, but you're very, Twitter allows you to go to, I think, 140 odd characters, but you kind of keep it to about 10, 20 max. Like, that was a goal. Like, if you want people to engage with you got to be a bit more spicy than that, bruh.
I can't do the spicy things. I'm more the lurker type,
Nah, I think we need to send you to Spice City or something, bro. On that note, come check me out on the socials. We'll catch you again. This was a great episode. Thank you all and enjoy the international break.
Cool.